That's not my outfit.
It's Death by Monsters.
Hello and welcome and hello and doom is foretold, you darling dum-dum of dugongs.
What's a dugong?
It's the cow of the sea. That's a manatee.
Oh.
No, a dugong is a Pokemon. It's the evolution of seal.
But there are dugongs in the real world.
Nah.
They're the sea cows.
Those are manatees.
Dugong is a medium-sized marine mammal. It is one of 4 living species of the order of Sirenia, which also... Wikipedia, what are you on about?
It's what people think mermaids are sometimes.
Manatees? I love manatees.
Which also includes 3 species of manatees.
They're the cows of the sea. They eat seagrass and just hang out. I love them.
I love manatees. I want to see one very badly.
They're my brother's favourite animal of all time.
Is that right?
And by that I mean, it's not close.
One mystery solved.
Welcome to Death by Monsters, a show about monsters, mysteries, and the unknown.
Monsters, mysteries, and manatees.
Ooh.
Monsters, mysteries, and man. Oh, that would have been
New shirt idea.
That'd have been a great. I'd listen to that.
TM.
I'd put that on my body. I'm joined by my friend and co-host Paula Deming,
Hello, everyone.
and my friend and hype man Nick. I can't hear you, Murphy. 2019 is almost over. But however your 2019 was, probably terrible. It's the start of a new decade. The roaring 20s are back. And who knows what that'll bring.
Flappers?
I've already cut my hair off, so short hair,
You ready?
lots of knees, visible knees.
I love short hair on girls. Just throwing that out there.
Thank you.
Ladies?
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
Not you.
Gosh, jeez.
You know, I'm talking about potential dating avenues for Nick. Not you. Your hair's very cute. I told you your hair is soup's cute.
A lady who is your friend has the same value, just slightly different, though, from the lady who is your
I'm
romantic
just
interest.
putting it out in the universe. I like short hair on girls and girls with giant noses.
You do like that. Also, I will say, actually, you really do like that. I fundamentally have a belief that if you're happily in a relationship, I stop complimenting you pretty much entirely because I don't think you deserve any more happiness because of how terrible my life
This
is.
explains a lot.
It's like, oh, you look nice. I'm like, oh, just leave it to their significant other to tell them they look nice. Your life's terrible, Matthew. Let's focus on that. Also, before Paula brings it up, yes, we did meet Paula this year, which in all honesty was pretty great.
Aww.
But also, a colony of penguins died at the start of the year, and I'm not saying that balanced it out, but I'm also not saying that.
A whole colony, huh?
So basically the year was a wash.
Yeah.
In that regard, the rest of it, I'll be honest with you, it's been a bit shit.
I feel like all the
Yeah.
parts that we all did together have been wonderful, and then the rest was okay.
That's true. I say who knows what that year will bring. But there have been those. This is the segue. There have
okay.
been those in this world.
Thank you for pointing it out, because sometimes it's hard to tell what's happening.
I was confused.
There have been those in this world who not only say that they know what will happen in the coming year, but what will come to pass for the following millennia. And other than the great seers and visionaries of ancient religious texts, like Daniel, who told Belshazzar all about how the Medes and the Persians were going to come up and cut his empire up like a cheesecake, or when the Archduke Ferdinand said, hey, let's take the long route. You know, what's the worst that can happen?
Nothing bad happened.
But the most famous of these future-seeing weirdos is Nostradamus, brother of famous vampire Nosferatu.
Oh, yes. I always wondered if they were perhaps related.
That checks out.
From world wars to space landings, Nostradamus is said to have seen it all. And what makes it a bit more tantalizing is that he also wrote it down. And this being our start of the year, end of the year, when will this be released? I can't quite, I think this, who knows? But, I thought this might be good to have a look and see what the future will bring.
Nostradamus probably knows.
I mean, does he know anything?
Well, he knows... I'll wait. I'll let you talk for a little while before I share my thoughts.
Paula's colors are showing.
Michel de Nostradam was born on either December 14th or December 21st, so it's nice to get some cold hard and undisputed facts in right at the top of the show.
Nice.
That's Nick's birthday.
Yes.
in Saint-Rémy-de-Provence, a province which would soon become part of southern France. One very important thing to remember about Saint-Rémy-de-Provence is that not only can you go for a lovely scenic Van Gogh walk, but the true hidden gem is the weekly market day on Wednesdays, which one review on TripAdvisor said. Every morning, Saint-Rémy-de-Provence transforms into a bustling market. You can buy everything from fresh fruit and vegetables, cheeses of all varieties, meats, cured and fresh breads and pastries, antipasto products, nugget and sweets, clothes, hats, knives, homeware, knickknacks, almost everything.
Fake Rolexes, cocaine.
Car batteries.
Ooh, mufflers.
Loads of socks and like t-shirts with weird graffiti writing on them.
One of those cartoon portraits of a different family.
Velvet paintings.
Ooh.
Oh, velvet painting though, because it's good to look at and to touch.
Dippin' Dots.
You know how much I like Dippin' Dots, don't you?
You love Dippin' Dots. I'm not gonna lie. If I could give you one thing, I would give you a Willy Wonka factory, but with Dippin' Dots, and that's it.
Dippin' Dots. I mean, ice cream is my favorite food, but Dippin' Dots I count in that category.
Oh yeah, it's more or less ice cream.
They're ice cream of the future.
Pretty much.
I love Dippin' Dots.
I know someone whose family owned that company.
What?
Mr. Dip.
Mr. Dip.
Mr. Dip and his wife Dot.
There's an off-brand Dippin' Dots that you can get in like Tennessee, and do you know what? They're just as good.
You can get them at like grocery stores here for like $1, and yeah, they're just as good.
Seriously though, it looks like paradise and it's wine country. We're talking about Saint-Rémy-de-Provence, by the way. But in the days of but in the days of the Nostradamus family, it was slightly different. Something that is most evident in the change of the name from Gassenet to Nostradamus to hide their Jewish descent because of any guesses?
Just general prejudice.
Bigotry.
16th century.
The Inquisition?
The Inquisition!
Yeah.
Which comes up in this show for some reason, just really often. It was like 300 years of just, it was a shit time to be anything other than the status quo.
Yeah.
People are kind of shitty, is I think the overall takeaway from many of our episodes. Is just like, hey, people kind of suck. Except for when they're banding together to pretend that an old man disappeared off of a bus.
Off a bus.
Yeah.
That's when they're not shitty.
Good throwback.
They're banding together in a conspiracy of deceit and murder.
Yeah,
Yes.
pretty much. Then they're all together. It's all about togetherness and love.
Other takeaways is that polygraphs are great, but they don't really prove anything.
They prove nothing at all. Yep.
Making a painting of what happened to you does not count as evidence.
Yes.
And clean up after yourself because you need to respect the habitats of the great and noble mystery ape of the woods, who I believe in.
You do.
Nostradamus' father, Jaume, was a notary and grain dealer. He was one of 9 children, and while not rich, they were, in most aspects, doing okay. Well, as okay as you could do in 1503. This is the year Columbus discovers the Cayman Islands. Leonardo da Vinci begins work on the Mona Lisa, and the pocket handkerchief becomes fashionable in polite European society.
Well then.
That's nice.
1503, they dial that in. That's a fact. You can look that up. If you want to know when the pocket handkerchief became popular in polite European society, 1503. Tick that box.
Before that, if you even had one, you just got burned at the stake.
What's that magical square? Burn him!
How dare you clean yourself with that?
Just blow it into the street like the rest of it, you...
Filth is the way of the Lord.
As a child, other than walking up to old people and telling them he could tell them how they were going to die, which isn't something he did, but honestly, so little is really known about his childhood that I'm going to take a few liberties.
I'm just gonna make some things. So little is known that I think I'll just like make some shit up. Like no one will be able to tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
It's how all the other documentaries I ever watch work. I mean, I can just imagine young Nostradamus, though, full beard. I mean, he's like 7 or 8, still full beard.
Oh, it looks exactly the same. Yeah, he's just much shorter.
And he walks up to an old person and says, "You're going to fall off a ladder," and then just walks on.
Yeah.
Talk about creepy
He
kids.
walks up, he's like, ham sandwich. And they're like, what do you mean? That's how you're going to die, mate? And then he walks away. I think he's French. I don't know.
Le sandwich jambon.
Le ham sandwich.
That's not how Nostradamus says his stuff. He's like, the old one sits on high. The ground meets them shortly. Fires erupt, and then he walks away as a kid. Like, that's the style of a Nostradamus prophecy.
Look, kid, I don't have any money, okay? I don't have any change on me. Just leave.
He just puts his hand out for a tip.
Yeah. He's like, no, the man sitting on throne of no, we don't have any money. Then sees into the soul of the no, we don't have any money. Please just go. No.
I see Nostradamus walking up to some middle-aged man and saying, "In 50 years, you will drown." And the guy, and he goes, "I'm not giving you any like spare francs. I'm not. In 40 years, you will drown, dude. I'm not getting." In 20 years. Okay, jeez, okay, I'll give you some francs. I don't want to die tomorrow.
I was like, in 5 minutes, I will kick you in the shins.
Later this evening, I'm going to come round your house and stab you in the side when you're eating some porridge. So, what we do know is that his grandfather, Pierre, saw potential in the boy and asked him if he could train him. So little Michel went to live with his granddad, where his granddad did the good, honest thing of teaching him Greek and Hebrew, Latin and maths, and also his granddad did what any good, weird granddad should do, which is teach his grandson all about Kabbalah, mysticism, incantations, the celestial sciences, and magic.
Magic.
This wasn't all as weird and freaky as you'd think. While certainly some of these topics were taboo at the time, Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism, for example, in the 16th century, that was forbidden knowledge. But also in the 16th century, if you didn't know when Jupiter's alignment with Leo and which planet was in retrograde, you couldn't be a doctor. In fact, the most important question you could ask to a patient was what day they were born.
Yeah.
Because that was the basis of their medical practices. And let me tell you, that didn't help one solitary fuck later on in this story when the Black Death starts killing everyone in southern France.
Pretty much, yeah.
You're like, oh, what day were you born? Oh, looks like you're gonna die from the plague.
Astrology, while interesting, isn't a medical practice.
I disagree. Paula, you're a Scorpio, correct?
Yes, I am. Oh, no. Yep, sure am.
And as a water sign that's ruled by Pluto, you are at a higher risk of dehydration. Did you know that?
I am thirsty an awful lot.
It's because you're naturally drawn to salt water.
Oh.
You should be eating, firstly, more calcium, and apparently you might have a problem handling your liquor.
Yeah.
If you do find yourself dehydrated, though, Paula, I would try licorice sweetened with honey and fruit juice. Also, there's like, where I was doing my research, paragraph after paragraph about UTIs, which I avoided here for the podcast.
I already take cranberry supplements to help with those. Hot tip, everyone. It's a great preventative measure. And if you, that way you aren't getting all the added sugar of drinking cranberry juice. So just get some cranberry supplements. I get mine from Amazon and do that. Just take 2-3 times a day.
Good to know. Yes.
I just knew you were going to have more to add about UTIs. Nick,
Yeah, boo.
you are a Capricorn, correct?
No, I'm not.
What the hell?
I am
I
a-
looked this up.
Nope. I'm a Sagittarius. I am on the cusp. The 22nd is when Capricorn starts.
It probably depends. Some people some calendars are a little wonky with their start dates.
Well, according to my research, so sod your entire life history. According to my 5 minutes of research,
This is Mike. Mike's a Capricorn.
Mike,
He's listening.
stop driving right now. You're sat in your car. Hammer the brakes. Don't feather the brakes. Hammer the brakes.
Hammer them.
Listen to this. Be fully aware that your ruling planet is Saturn, Mike Murphy, which holds sway over your gallbladder, spleen, bones, skin, and teeth.
Oh,
Although I
goodness.
would count bones and teeth as the same thing, whatever. You are someone of extremes, Mike. Missing meals and eating too much at once. You need also to hammer the brakes, Mike. You are someone who needs to eat a bunch of calcium, but your cell salt is calcium phosphate rather than calcium sulfate, which is Paula's cell salt.
Cell salt.
Your cell salt. Look it up, otherwise you might die. And Mike, you need to get out of your food rut and vary your diet more. And I found this very interesting, and it was more interesting when it was a joke directly aimed at Nick, but still, you've got off lightly, because for the love of God, you need to go easy on highly seasoned and spicy food, which, as far as I can tell, means you need to stop eating at Taco Bell.
I can't do that. Thank God I'm a Sag. Sag for life, baby.
Don't call it Sag. Jeez.
I'm a Sag. I'm very into astrology.
Also, if anyone feels that they're low earth right now, whatever the goddamn that means, then you should try eating some slippery elm.
Ooh, slippery elm. I just have some in the back of my cabinet, and I'm trying to figure out what am I going to use this for, and now I know.
The problem is it's so difficult to get your hands on. Also, I did mine, but I'm ignoring it as it told me that I classically worry myself sick and should stop eating chocolate.
Wow, yours is so accurate.
Those 2 points were, but other than that. After the schooling of this weird old grandfather, who, as we said, aside from some algebra and herbalism, he was being taught, it's believed, the ways of the prophetic occult. And while his curriculum isn't exactly known, he did in later life write about magical books that he was given to study as a child. But at 14, he was sent to Avignon to learn all the normal subjects of the day, rhetoric and mathematics, but also more conventional astrology. But this is also a contentious issue for Nostradamus specifically because young Captain Doom had some both strange and prophetic beliefs about the nature of the solar system.
I'm sorry, Captain Doom?
He'll be getting lots of nicknames during this whole show.
I like that. I just wanted to make sure that's what I thought, and then I went, wait, is he actually referring to someone named Captain Doom? Got it. Young Captain Doom. I would like to can I put it on an official nickname change? I would like to be referred to as Captain Doom from now on. Thank you.
See, I'd go with Dr. Doom, but that's already taken.
Well, I believe that a Captain Doom would have authority over a Doctor Doom.
They went to medical school.
Well, the doctor is the only one who can tell the captain they have to step down for medical reasons. So really, who has the most power?
If my watching of Star Trek Voyager is anything to go by, which it is because it's extensive, every single time that Janeway was told to stop doing stuff because she was going to basically kill herself from working herself to death because she's the greatest of all the captains apart from Benjamin Sisko, she just turned the Doctor off because he was a hologram. Also, this is something directly aimed at our Facebook group at the moment. Y'all need to calm down with your trash talking to DS9. It's really good. I'm watching you. I'm taking notes. I know who's trashing it.
I do too, and y'all were on the same page.
I'll just finish his sentence as well. It's believed that he believed that the Earth orbited the Sun, something that Copernicus wouldn't publish for another 25 years.
Whoa, Captain Doom, look at you being ahead of your time.
Look at you, big man.
With your weird hat. He then goes off to medical school, which is where he gets his weird hat. A school in Montpellier. Also, Montpellier is nice. Jump off the bridge. It's very high, but it is fun.
Oh.
He does pretty well. Graduates after 3 years and then changes his name from Nostradamus to the Latinized Nostradamus.
Fun.
Pretty fucking pretentious, let's face it.
People back then always changed their name. I want to change my name. My name sucks.
It's so like hipster. It's like he came out of like art school and was like, all right, well, I just did 4 years at this theater conservatory, so
I don't see myself as the same person.
yeah, so just like I'm a true artist right now. And I'm really excited. I'm going to go do my internship at Williamstown. And I'd really like to be just like referred to me as just like whatever character I'm currently playing, even in like my regular life.
I just feel like that Black and Hispanic families should just move out that street so that me and my friends can move in and turn it into a new art district.
Is gentrification even a thing? Yes.
I don't believe in it because it doesn't affect me specifically.
Pretty much, yeah.
Also, I've not want to talk about changing your name to something cooler. Now, the treatment...
That's kind of a good point.
I wonder why.
I'm saying I like that people do that. I just wish I done that because my name sucks. Your name is cooler.
I like your name, Nick Murphy. Yours. You got a salt of the earth name.
No, it's...
I had a friend called John who, for a small amount of time, attempted to change his name to Fabian.
Oh, no.
It didn't stick.
That's a big leap you're asking people to make there.
It was beyond the realms of belief, right?
Fabian, huh? Yeah, nah, Fabe.
I just found out that someone I know out in LA, and I'm not going to say who they are, I just found out that the name this person goes by is definitely not at all their real name. And when they came out to LA, they just started introducing themselves to people with this fake name because they thought it sounded better than their name they grew up with in whatever like hick town they're from.
Wait, so who it is that you don't want to listen?
Brendan Fraser. This is all at a time that plague comes to southern France. Now, the treatment of plague in the 16th century France can be described best
As great.
Can you guess there's going to be a joke yet? Because there normally is a joke when I say is described best as.
I mostly guessed there was going to be a joke because you giggled a little in your pause.
Described as about as effective as trying to tie your shoelaces by wrapping them around your neck, then jumping off a magic tree.
Oh, a magic tree, though.
I was expecting the magic tree part.
Well, there's a little bit of mysticism in this entire... It's the thread that weaves this show together.
That's fair.
It's been said that the only thing that came close to killing as many people as the plague at the time were the doctors trying to cure the plague. Just a lot of unsanitary bloodletting and mercury-based potions.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Just as an example, and before anyone says anything, I do subscribe to the idea that certainly alchemical formulas were allegoric to high knowledge from the church. Whole different topic, but both Paula and Nick, you're both still kind of sick, right?
Yes.
Do either of you have a sore throat still?
A little bit.
Mine is finally gone.
That's lucky, because I've got a cure that you ain't gonna like. Here's a medieval cure for a sore throat.
Great.
Take a fat cat and flay it well.
Absolutely not. Don't talk about Luna that way.
I'm in. Keep going.
Clean and draw out the guts. Take the grease of a hedgehog and the fat. This has got to be British. And the fat of a bear. Actually, maybe not. And resins of fenugreek and sage and gum of honeysuckle, which is the only nice ingredient, and virgin wax. All this crumble small and stuff the cat within as you would a goose.
What?
Ooh, okay. I'm still with it.
You don't put all this stuff down your throat to coat it. It all goes in the cat.
It all goes within as you would a goose, it says.
So up its butt.
Up the butt, yeah. Roast it all and gather the grease and rub it on your sore throat.
I'm still here.
I'm here for it.
I'm questioning the topical value of this. I see more of an actual value in drinking it because it could coat your sore and inflamed vocal cords, but that's disgusting.
That's because you're not a doctor. You don't know.
True. It's true. It's very true. Caveat, I am not a medical professional, so...
There's fat cats in the game Raccoon Tycoon, and they're cute.
But you have to kill it.
I'm okay with that.
To his credit, Nostradamus was actually pretty progressive and even visionary in his medical treatments. He prescribed rose pills that we now know would have helped, as they were high in vitamin C. He insisted the corpses laying in the street were removed.
I love how that's revolutionary at the time.
What are you saying? We should take the dead just out from rotting on the corner of the street? He was holding me door open.
Can you imagine the smell?
Oh, it's gotta be great.
I mean,
Oh,
it was
God.
already not good back in the day. Like sanitation and just personal health was just not anywhere near the standard we have now, to put it lightly.
To put it very lightly, yes.
But just have piles of dead bodies rotting away in the I can't even begin to fathom how disgusting life was.
The thing that would stop me from time traveling almost more than anything else is the smell.
Yeah.
I would not do well.
That's why perfumes were invented. It's because royals were wearing those giant clothes and they smelled so bad.
And those wigs.
Because they would just sweat all day. And I'm just all y'all were getting down too. How?
It's all they knew. They didn't know any different.
I guess that's true. It's we don't know anything else, but my Lord.
And it's just the problem is that whenever you look at recipes and stuff like that, it's oh, how do they do this and how do they do that? 95% of the time, they did it by pissing on it. It's how do they get the colour into the clothes? Well, if you cover it in pit, it's come on, people. Let's get this Renaissance moving.
A little bit would be nice.
He also insisted on fresh new water sources being found, and he liked to make sure that people kept clean. He didn't get plague himself because he insisted on keeping clean and that his patients were washed before he saw them.
Hey, how about that?
Did either of you watch the sexy documentary with sexy Nostradamus having a shower in it?
No.
That what? Was that in what you sent us?
I read 2 books of this and watched about 6 or 7 documentaries, right? And in one of them, there was just a whole scene of the guy playing Nostradamus. Firstly, he was looking off into the middle distance, thinking about the sciences, and then he was having, there's a whole shower scene, an outdoor. It was very bizarre.
That's awesome. Good for him.
Why didn't you send us that one, Matthew? The one you sent us just had a lot of rock music, trying to make Nostradamus seem cool and hip.
Well, he was so metal, you know.
Why is this soundtrack for him meditating in front of his bowl of liquid? I don't understand.
Because the Discovery Channel's metal and awesome. That's why, obviously. God, Discovery Channel's so freaking metal.
At 30, he gets married. And Paula, you'll love this.
Oh, good. I can't wait.
This will be your favourite fact of the whole show.
Good.
His wife's name was...
Was it Paula?
Lost to history. I thought you'd appreciate that fact because it's just very telling of the time.
Well, guess what? His wife didn't need to be remembered. Because what the fuck did she do? Just made sure his house stayed together and his children stayed alive and that he had food and clothing and, they probably didn't have any kids.
I'll stop you there because while Nostradamus was in Italy, he
they all
came home
died.
to his whole family had been killed by the plague.
A little bit. Yeah, just a little bit of mass
Well,
death.
you know what? She doesn't deserve to be remembered because she did a bad job taking care of the family.
Oh, my Lord.
That's pretty harsh.
Well,
This is when Nostradamus has what I think you could best describe as probably a midlife crisis. It's not helped that the Inquisition wanted to talk to him, which was something he was not in a hurry to do. So
Yeah.
he, like so many confused and terrified gap year students after him, went on a backpacking holiday around Europe.
Yep.
And like so many gap year students after him, he comes back having had a psychic awakening.
So many
Yeah.
people.
Do you understand what I'm saying when I say gap year students, or is that very
No, that's,
different?
yeah.
we are enough students of the world to know what a gap year is.
We're cultured, yeah.
It's the year after you graduate high school, before you go to university, where you just do some shit and find yourself, I guess.
My gap year was I got a full-time job in a supermarket so I could afford to go to university. It was not as...
Yep.
I spent a lot of time sleeping in a almost broken down Nissan Micra on a supermarket car park.
But you did have a psychic awakening, so...
I had a psychic awakening because of the noxious CO2 fumes that would come in through the hood of the Nissan Micra.
Yeah.
And it spoke to me in a very true and real way. Mm-hmm. One of the best friends I ever had was that Nissan Micra, and its funny tales it would tell me of the road. One of the very first recorded divinations was when he was in Italy, and upon meeting a lonely monk named Felice Poretti, he bent to his knees saying...
Oh my gosh, this is the beginning of a great romance scene. Like, he
It
met
really
a
is.
lonely monk. They talked for a minute. Nostradamus bends to his knees and then...
opens his mouth
Yeah?
to say...
Oh.
This is less fun.
I must kneel before the Pope. And then eventually, in 1585, after Nostradamus' death, that monk did indeed become Pope Sixtus V.
What?
And after doing way too much research on Pope Sixtus V, way more than I wanted to, and I mean it this time, it turns out Pope Sixtus V was a really boring individual. Other than being Pope and fulfilling Nostradamus' prediction, I mean, he excommunicated the Queen of England and the King of France at the time, but that's not as fun as what some of the other popes got up to. And I really wanted him to be one of the fun popes. I mean, numerous popes had pet elephants, and at least one had an erotic bathroom made.
Ooh.
He was one of the boring popes. You don't know about the Pope's erotic bathroom? It's still there.
No, what? No, I can't. I don't even want to get into it. It's just going to upset me.
It's a secret bathroom that the Pope had with erotic murals put on the walls so that he could have some alone time in his erotic bathroom.
Checks out.
I mean, look, everyone's a person. We all have human needs. You got to get it out somehow.
Oh, that was the wrong phrase.
No, it wasn't.
To gain more insight and inspiration into the world of prophecy, he travelled to the Old World, the world that even in his time was ancient, to Greece, to Turkey and Egypt. And again, like any other gap year student, he brought back a bunch of shit with him. Most notably, the tools of divination. Those being actual tools like a brass bowl and tripod, his dowsing rods, which isn't sexy, as well as many ancient and magical books, all of which he used from 1550 as he set up shop in Salon de Provence, writing farmers' almanacs in his secret study. Also, I'll say here, I've read twice now that the brass bowl was what the Oracle of Delphi used, but it's pretty well known that the Oracle of Delphi was just huffing noxious cave gases. That's for another show.
Pocket nauseous cave gases. God, that sounds like a great time.
So, these almanacs were astrological predictions for farmers in the area and made him a pretty good income. But he also used his funds to fund his other studies, as he was locked away in his secret study. So, with his wand in hand, no one? The hem of his robes the hem of his robes and his feet anointed in the seeing bowl, he could then both see and hear the divinations. And I have to assume he was high for like 95% of this.
Probably.
Yeah.
After his trances, that could last for hours at a time, when he came to, he had written a 4-line poem. These are what made up his prophetic works, and in total he wrote 1,000 quatrains, released in 10 volumes or centuries of 100 quatrains each. And what made it more tantalizing, to avoid persecution, he encoded it all with Latin, Greek, metaphor, and anagrams.
Wow, because you definitely don't want to make a prophecy that anyone could ever easily understand.
No.
Especially not the Inquisition, who are going to kill him.
I mean,
Well, I mean, what's the point of coming out with something that no one can actually properly interpret? I mean, honestly, though. Like,
Yeah.
what's the point? Either stand behind your work or sit the fuck down. That's what I say.
I agree. I think it's ridiculous just to make it. I'm making it cryptic because da-da-da-da-da. It's like, yeah, but then no one can understand what you're saying. Like, that doesn't help. It's so dumb.
I was going to make an argument about Joseph in the Bible, but in fairness, when he did the divination for the Pharaoh's dream, he did have practical advice for him. He said, look, the thin cows are going to eat the fat cows. That means that you're going to have some grain problems. And then he kind of wasn't Joseph put in charge of the granaries in all of Egypt? In the Bible, at least. And then they actually got through that. Yeah, that's actually kind of useful information.
Yeah.
Rather than...
Yeah.
And then he was like, and it was an immediate thing, not just some vague thing that, maybe one day might sort of apply to some event. So I said I was going to hold back my opinions. So
Oh, well, it's still a mystery.
It's still a mystery.
My only problem with Joseph is that he wouldn't stop singing. He becomes really well known for his prophetic works. He makes a shit ton of money. Catherine of Medici, the Queen of France, loves him. She gets him to do a reading of her 7 children, and he tells her that 4 of them are going to die and leave only 3, to which everyone is amazed when it finally comes true. But also, that is how time works. So, take from that what you will.
yeah, people do die.
It's like, yes, there's 7 people. Eventually, there will probably be only 3 of them left, unless numbers 4 and 5 die at the same time in a freak accident. It's quatrain 35 of his first century that really went a long way to cement his renown in the world of freaky future foreboding. The young, shall I do it in a French accent? The young lion.
Yes, please
Yeah,
do.
The young
do it.
If
lion.
you won't, I will. Mine's better than yours, obviously.
The young lion will overcome the old one in single combat. In a cage of gold, his eyes will be put out, 2 wounds in one, then to die a cruel death. On its own, that's about as vague as asking a patch of fog how its day was.
Yep.
But in 1559, King Henry II of France was celebrating his daughter's wedding with a good old-fashioned joust.
What a dum-dum is what I'm going to say right at the beginning here.
Yeah.
It really is, because the person he challenges to the joust is the captain of the Scottish Guard, Count Montgomery,
Yeah.
who is probably in better shape than the king.
Yeah.
Let's face it. As hundreds of people looked on, the joust went slightly wrong as Montgomery accidentally shoved his lance into Henry's face.
Well, also, apparently, Catherine de Medici was like, hey, husband o' mine, maybe, don't do this. Maybe don't, keep doing this joust thing. Maybe don't. And he was like, fuck you, woman. I'm going to do what I want. And then he fucking dies.
Now you think about it, dying in a voluntary jousting competition is so dumb.
Jousting alone is ridiculous, and I love it.
Because Montgomery accidentally shoves his lance into Henry's face. The splinters went through his golden helmet and pierced his left eye, entering his brain, which is 2 wounds. And after 10 days of agony, he died, which is a young man overcoming an old one in single combat, and through a cage of gold, his eye was put out, 2 wounds, his eye in his brain, and a cruel death indeed.
But wait, didn't it also, pierce his throat and stuff, too? That's not the only wound that happened.
It said, yeah, it went to his eyes and his throat, I thought it said.
Are you doubting the prophetic word of Nostradamus? This was a bold enough and accurate enough prediction. This type of prophecy was seen as occult, demonically inspired witchcraft.
But did he say, Henry, did he go, Henry will die this way? Or was it just, some random words he spewed
Yeah, it was
out,
an
and then
old
we
line.
decided it applied to Henry?
You couldn't write in a book at the time about the king dying, because that would get you killed.
A fine excuse.
This kind of prophetic demon witchcraft was so bad that right after that happened, on the very same night, people gathered round saying they all wanted Nostradamus to be burnt to death. But thankfully, Catherine Medici was totally cool with Nostradamus. That's the only reason he survived. So let's stop this naysaying.
Yes, please. I'll believe everything this man says.
In 1566, Nostradamus finished his work and then stopped. He burnt all of his books, his hidden magical textbooks. His reasoning, according to the man himself, was that he was worried that they were going to fall into the wrong hands and that someone else would get them and use them for evil.
Evil.
And that was it. After that, he died from heart disease.
Rude.
Did he predict his own death? The soothsayer shall have a chest pain, clutch his left arm, and fall to the ground. Death envelops him.
Soothsayer doth eaten too many Big Macs, and cholesterol cloggeth the arteries.
66 prostitutes will come to my house, one after another. Make it happen, demon god.
Please, 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 please. Thank you, love. Nostradamus.
I'm just saying, man, if I'm predicting stuff, why can't I predict some dope stuff for myself? I'm just saying.
Do you want to talk about some of his prophecies?
Yes.
I mean, should we?
Nostradamus foresaw 3 antichrists. Now, this isn't necessarily in the satanic way. The people he foresaw were certainly assholes. The first of which was Mon Capitan himself, Napoleon. An emperor will be born near Italy, who shall cost the empire very dearly. It will be said by those who rally about him that he will prove less a prince than a butcher. From a simple soldier he will obtain the empire, and from a short robe he will attain the long.
Ah, the short robe. Is that why they think it's about Napoleon? Because he was short?
He was of average height. I just want to put that out there.
He was of average height, but Napoleon fits the bill because he was born near Italy on the island of Corsica. And some argue that he killed more people than anyone before him. So he certainly was a butcher. Well, apart from Genghis Khan, right? Because
Genghis Khan killed a lot of people.
he killed just so many people. But he definitely was a butcher more than a prince. Oh, and by the way, the short robe was the short robe of a soldier, and the long robe was the long robe of an emperor, which is...
Oh, okay. Well then.
That proves it.
I'm getting some naysaying. Maybe this one will sway you.
I'm officially holding back my opinion until you do your whole spiel to try and convince me.
You're officially neutral at this point.
Officially neutral.
Nick's not.
So we have this one. Pal, Nat, and Laurent. More fire than blood. Swimming in praise, the great man hurries to the confluence. He will refuse entry to the magpies. Pampon and Durance will confine them. But Pau, Nat, and Laurent, or rather, or Laurent, reference 3 towns in Paris. But Nostradamus also wrote in codes, and if you use Pau, Nat, and Laurent as an anagram, you get Napoleon Roy, which is really bloody close to Napoleon the King in French. And that would be too far a stretch for me if it wasn't already in a passage that references a great man and more of fire than blood, which might refer to King of France, that isn't king through blood but through violence. And the magpies are Pope Pius VI and Pope Pius VII, who he locked up.
Why are
Case
they called
closed.
magpies? Why do we know the magpies are the... Why do we know the magpie, why the magpies are popes?
I don't know why magpies are popes, but
Because they loved pie.
But I read in 2 different places that they said, well, that's because the magpies are popes.
Well, then...
I have to assume if I had done 5 minutes more research, I would know exactly why.
No, I think because it's just convenient.
Are you calling me stupid?
No, I'm saying no one knows why. No one knows why the magpies are popes. It is just convenient to say, what fits this? I think this is about Napoleon. How do I make all the other details in this fit the details surrounding Napoleon? Oh, I know. These 2 popes. Well, those can be the 2 magpies. Done. There's
All right,
no actual
all right,
reason
all
for
right,
it.
All right. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Okay. Fine. All right. Okay. Cool. All right. Okay. But dispute this one.
Okay.
Let's see if you can have a guess to see who this is.
Oh, okay, great. I bet I can.
A captain of Greater Germany
It's Hitler.
will by his speeches seduce great numbers. The most part of the battlefield will be against Hister. They shall subjugate the borders of the Danube. They shall pursue the crooked cross of iron. Well, Paula Deming. Or shall I call you Dangerous Schmidt?
That's right. Danger Schmidt here.
That's right.
Here to tell you that. Look, yeah, okay. In our English translation of that now, it sure does sound a lot like Hitler and the Holocaust. But really, it could be, why, if it's so on point, why is it Hister and not Hitler? Nick, please, I I don't need to be the only argumentative one.
I completely agree. This is what pisses me off about these soothsayers or psychics or whatever that is. Like, there's no specificity at all. It's all vague fucking bullshit that you can just twist however you want to make it fit whatever you want. They're like, well, he could have said Hitler. It's like, Hitler did exist. He could have said Hitler. Why didn't he just say Hitler if it was supposed to be Hitler? Why didn't he say these things? It makes no sense. It's like, yes, it happens to sound a lot like Hitler, Hister. That doesn't mean anything. That's just a coincidence. Oh my gosh, this whole thing pisses me off so much.
Maybe it's more believable that it's a play on words, and he didn't want to be too open about it because his prophecies were not necessarily cemented in the future of the world. They were what would happen if nothing changes. Because Hister, some people say that that's...
Well, it sounds like an excuse to me to be like, I have a prophecy, but it might not come true because, things are always changing.
And you're just randomly guessing. I can make that right now. Like, you're just straight up guessing. You're not predicting anything. You're just saying this may happen, but that could be anything.
Hitler did persuade with his speeches. He was the captain of a crooked cross and an iron cross. And while you might say Hister and not Hitler, well, that could be a play on the ancient name of the Danube River itself, which is the river Hister, which is the river that Hitler grew up playing next to. And the Nazis themselves, for a long time, loved the idea of Nostradamus.
Yeah, I bet they did.
They believe that good old Hister, the captain of Greater Germany, was none other than their own Hitler. They certainly used it as part of their propaganda machine. It was Magda Goebbels that first brought it up. That's right. The wife of Joseph Goebbels, who was, as you might know, one of the greatest dickheads of history.
Yeah.
Only outdone by some of his closest friends. But as the Minister of Propaganda, he saw the connection as pretty great. So he got astrologer Karl Kraft to write a version of the prophecies to shine an even more favourable light on the Nazis and Hitler. But then, spoiler alert, the Germans begin to lose the war. Hitler took against all astrologers and then had them rounded up. And the one thing you didn't want to get done by Hitler
is get rounded up.
Was be rounded up.
That's true.
Yeah.
That sucks.
You weren't going to the OK Corral. Let's just put it that way.
No, you sure won't.
But the connections, at their weakest, are still pretty spooky.
I mean, yes, it is very strong coincidental connections in this particular one, at least in the translation that you have. It's, yes.
Well, that's a caveat too far, but still. From the depths of the west of Europe, a young child will be born of poor people. He will, by his tongue, seduce great troops. His fame will increase towards the realm of the east. And we have the beast ferocious with hunger will cross the rivers. The greater part of the battlefield will be against Hister. For some reason in my notes it says into a cafe of iron. Now I have to assume...
A cafe of iron.
I have to assume that something's gone wrong.
Well, everyone knows that Hitler loved a good coffee shop.
That's true.
Loved it. Like, especially when they did the little swastika foam art on his lattes. Like, oh, he loved that.
I love this imagery you have put in my coffee. It is beautiful. I myself am an artist. This one's good. Okay, this one I have here. I really think this one will make you go, well. The unseen is revealed. Hidden for a long time, he will, Pasteur, a demigod, be honoured. This is when the moon completes her great cycle. But through slander by others, he will be dishonoured.
Wait, is this predicting when I'm going to get my period?
Yes.
Specifically you.
Guess I'm convinced my mind is changed. Mystery solved.
This, I think you'll decide, is undisputed proof, as it references a person by name, Louis Pasteur, and his discovery of the unseen that he revealed being the microbe and his germ theory. Then it goes on to describe how Pasteur was first revered and then dishonoured. And wouldn't you know it, in 1995, historian Gerard Geeson published a book proving that Pasteur used his rival's findings to make the anthrax virus, which was a little dishonouring to Pasteur's legacy.
What does that have to do with the moon?
I can't stress this enough, Nostradamus was super high the entire time he was doing this. I have to assume
I cannot stress this enough.
I like that better than what I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to be like, I can't stress this enough. He was writing in code. I'd much prefer you being like, look, he was high. Shit is weird.
Look, the unseen is revealed, hidden for such a long time. He will, Pasteur, as a demigod be honoured. This is when the moon completes her great cycle, blah, blah, blah. I'm seeing whatever. But through slander by others, he will be dishonoured. Come on, it says Pasteur in the blooming...
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Right? That's a good one, right?
That's a good one.
How about this one? The blood of the just will commit a fault at London. Burnt through lightning of 23 the 6th. The ancient lady will fall from a high place, and several of the same sect will be killed. What's that referencing?
That's the great fires, right? In like St. Paul's Cathedral.
23's the 6, or 20 times 3 add 6. That's 66. That's the Great Fire of London. Though it wasn't started by a bolt of lightning, it was started by a bakery fire on Pudding Lane, as we all know.
Well,
but it's bloody close.
I
Come
mean,
on.
but is bloody close bloody good enough in this scenario? I'm not sure. I'm sorry to be so aggressively skeptical of this one, but I just...
No, I'm right there with you, Paula. I am 100% out. Been 100% out since the beginning. I think if you make a prediction like this and wait long enough, something
Yes.
close enough will happen.
Okay, all right, okay, cool, okay, all right, okay, oh, fine, okay.
What else you got? You got that 9/11 one in there
the
somewhere?
The sky will burn at 45 degrees. Fire approaches the great new city. By fire he will destroy their city. A cold and cruel heart. Blood will pour, mercy to none. Could this be perhaps the fire that attacked the new city? The new city, New York City, which lies on the 45th latitude? By fire, he will destroy their city, a cold and cruel heart. Yeah, New York's got a cold and cruel heart. It's a city that doesn't forgive.
That is true.
Although, do you know what? At this point, I will say that I've seen other translations of this exact same quatrain, which is like, the two towers will fall.
Yeah.
Make your mind up. It says it's in French. It's not in some dead language. It's either says the two towers will fall, because one says the airships will then turn about. I'm like, it obviously doesn't say that if mine says cold, cruel heart, blood will pour, mercy to none.
Yeah.
I could translate most of that sentence from French.
In the documentary, they talked about this one. They also showed the planes hitting the towers a few too many times for my taste in
Many
that
times,
documentary. Yeah. Again, I was like, as an American, I honestly don't appreciate having to watch this horrific moment that I remember from my past over and over and over again, but that's cool.
In this same documentary, it decided that it was a really good idea to show a bunch of shots from concentration camps and just like rows of dead bodies. It's like, yeah, I know what the concentration...
Yeah.
I totally appreciate, right, if I'm watching a documentary about concentration camps,
Yeah.
then yes, I expect to see this kind of stuff. But I'm watching a documentary about Nostradamus. I don't mean any disrespect to anyone in any way, but frankly, I don't want to see that, really.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't get any... It didn't add anything to that documentary.
In the documentary, they talked about, like, the fuel from the earth will ignite the towers and the city will fall. And they're like, the fuel from the earth is obviously petroleum used
I know.
And I'm like, or it's lava from a volcano, or it could be literally anything.
That's what that feels like.
Towers exist in every city. Multiple cities have the name new in them or are a new city. Like, I don't...
Naples means new city, doesn't it?
It's just so convenient to just look at something that happened and then take some vague words, like Nick's been saying, and just make it fit. You can make anything fit. I bet we could honestly find multiple scenarios in history that we could say this prophecy applies to.
Here's the thing, is that I've got some more references. I've got some more that we'll go through. I've got 3 or 4 more that we'll go through. But
I want to hear them all.
I will say, you don't hear that he wrote 1,000 of these.
Well, I mean, I want to hear all the ones you have prepared, to be clear. I don't want to hear all of his mad ravings.
Century 1, Quatrain 87, and some more mad ravings of a dead French man. But I will say, right, that, and I was going to leave this to the end, but a lot of his technique seems to be the very true idea that history will repeat itself.
Yeah.
And if you were to make a guess, because he has lots of quatrains about the Middle East, and it's like he just describes past... It could be argued that he describes past events and says that they will happen again. Because if it's happened before, it could happen again. And that's a really good way to do some soothsaying, is to say the army will move towards Israel, or the army will move towards Turkey, or the Turkish will move towards Persia, and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, yeah, that probably will happen again at some point.
Most likely.
Yeah, and I actually kind of respect that idea more than anything else. Just the idea, it's like, hey, yeah, history repeats itself because humans don't learn. And I can totally respect that as just a philosophy, more than this idea of like people now trying to apply the things he said to specific events. Like, I think we could take all of these prophecies in a way and filter them through their like vague poetic setting and use them as more like life lessons or things to try and be aware of. Like, this could something like this could happen if we aren't careful with the way we treat each other and our planet.
I do agree, especially if you're, I don't know, taking an open top car ride through Dallas, Texas.
You gonna read that one now?
The ancient work shall be accomplished from the roof. Evil lightning shall fall on the great man. Being dead, they will accuse an innocent man of the deed, the guilty one hidden in the misty woods. Well, this is a really good one. This is, the ancient evil lightning is a thunderbolt, right? And if someone kills someone with a thunderbolt from a roof to a man in the 16th century, that's probably how you might describe a gunshot.
Sure.
The roof being the window from the book depository. And of course, it really depends on your opinions of what you think happened that day in Dallas at JFK. But there's an argument to said that Lee Harvey Oswald was the innocent man and the real shooter was hidden in the misty woods or behind maybe some kind of grassy knoll, or the misty woods could just be the Secret Service itself.
Ooh, the New World Order, huh?
Get those Rosicrucians up in here.
I've got some opinions on the JFK assassination, just so you know.
I can't sit here and say it isn't interesting.
Oh, it's very interesting.
Because, again, while it is vague, and I do think this could apply to many assassinations, honestly, probably. It's vague enough. It's how astrology, it's how just like any like horoscope reading works or anything like this. But it's certainly interesting the way these things can be applied, and you can like see the parallels and be like, this could be about this. I mean, I'm not going to say it's not fascinating.
Well, look at this. This one I think is the most demonstrable proof of Nostradamus' abilities, right? The year 1999, 7 months, from the sky will come a great king of terror.
Wait, this is the one that you think is...
To bring back to life the great king of Angolmos, after Mars to reign by good luck, which is a reference to 1999. And when that king came back and took over the steppe region of... Oh, no, none of that happened. That doesn't make a lick of sense.
I was going to say, wait, what?
Yeah. I was confused. I was like, wait, there's one with that specific with a date? I haven't heard of this one. Okay, cool.
Yeah, there is. The year 1999. It's the 1999 prophecy.
Because people thought the world was going to end, and then it didn't.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Because for a few months later, and then it still didn't end.
It still didn't end. That's my favorite part of these things. We're like, oh, we just got the... It's like that episode of Parks and Rec with the... what's their name?
Yeah, that's really good.
With the volcano mouth lizard demon guy.
Yeah,
it's like they're just like, oh, we checked again. Turns out it's going to happen on June 16th. You know, it's just like, yeah, of course.
Well, it's like they say it's going to happen on June 16th, and Leslie says, oh, well,
there's an ice cream social that day.
I mean June 17th.
That's when it's going to end.
That's it. He shall go out in an iron fish.
Is this about James Cameron? Going down in a...
James Cameron, he shall go out in an iron fish, thrown upon the shore by a great wave. It shall be as a barn under the sea. Its strange form, wild and horrifying, from the sea its enemies soon reach the walls. Which really does sound a lot like a submarine.
Yeah.
A barn under the sea, an iron fish.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty good. And there's this one. In the heavens shall be seen a running fire with long sparks. He will come to take himself to the corner of Luna, where he will be taken and placed on alien land.
Is that the moon landing?
A running fire with long sparks.
It's kind of a fun game trying to guess what they might apply to.
I know, really, though.
That's why I did it this way around. I do think that's a good one.
That one's a good one, but again, it comes down to the fact that, like, I think you can do... I mean, it's other the times, right? So it's like, but I totally can foresee him because he seems like a smart dude. And he could probably be like, yeah, someday maybe we'll be able to, it's like Da Vinci invented flying machines. He had like all these diagrams. It's like no one could use them. Obviously, it didn't work. But like even though it's way, way before the Wright brothers, like people were thinking that this is definitely something that may happen someday. And so I totally could see him being like, yeah, someday we might be like explore underwater. It'll probably happen in some kind of like metal box. And so he just makes up this thing about what might happen. Same with like, they look at the moon and, if he's a scientist, which he was to a degree, you're kind of like, yeah, maybe someday we'll get there and we're going to need some kind of rocket explosion to get. So it's like, to me, I don't know. It's interesting, but it's like, to me, it could just be deduction that like, yeah, someday we might be able to do that, and then therefore making predictions that we will.
Yeah, it shows like forward thinking, being a dreamer.
Yeah.
Well, I will say that I think the greatest visionary of all time is Jules Verne. There's telephones and face-to-face communication and instant communication and the internet and radios and televisions and mobile phones, and he died in 1905. Jules Verne was a visionary without any mysticism being involved. And I mean, if you wanted to say that of a prophetic person, pick Jules Verne, because he got so much right. It's frankly makes someone like Nostradamus look like an amateur how much Jules Verne got right. It's incredible.
Jules Verne, the real Nostradamus.
He's got a beard. They both got beards.
They both have beards.
Does he have a weird hat? I bet he wore a weird hat once in his life. Yeah.
At least once.
I have to assume he went to some strange parties. They all tended to at the turn of the century.
Mm-hmm.
Nostradamus had this whole thing that people say references the Challenger disaster, about how 9 will go up and then go missing, and then they say that Theta Kappa Lambda, that spells out an anagram of the name of the company that made the boosters, and then that they were scattered because the Challenger exploded. But it also says 9 will go missing, and only 7 people died. I mean, I don't say only, but 7 people died in the Challenger disaster, not 9, which is the fine details that people tend to just leave out.
Yeah, they leave it out because it doesn't support their thing. It's inconvenient.
Yeah, their narrative,
so.
But I will say that his predictions don't stop at the moon landing and 9/11. Though most will argue they don't even start there. But, I mean, he makes numerous references, first of all, to the half-pig man.
The pig man.
What?
Wait, I'm sorry. Did Nostradamus predict this podcast?
That's Death by Monsters.
Oh, now I believe him.
Case closed.
I believe.
I believe. Do you both want to know what we have in store for us in the future?
Oh, yes, please.
Absolutely, I do. Please tell me. Now, wait, is this Nostradamus prediction or a Matthew Jude prediction?
It's a Nostradamus prediction. I did write a few predictions and I thought this is going quite long. The Great Mountain, 7 stades around, after peace, war, hunger, flood, will roll far, destroying great swaths of country, even antiquities and mighty foundations.
Well, this obviously has to do with the Denver airport.
Ooh.
You don't have to be an expert to realise that this means that we're all going to be killed by an asteroid in 2069.
Yep, obviously.
Oh, or that. Sure, or that. Mm-hmm.
But we're going to be at the Denver airport when it happens.
Got it. That's how they all tie in.
You're going to be underground at the Denver airport trying to, ask an alien for a ride off the planet.
We're going to be out trying to climb Lucifer on the runway.
That's right. And hopefully he finally reanimates and we ride him into hell.
Well, off we go to hell. Why 2069? Was because this is Quatrain 69. And that's the only reasoning I could find to back this up. But still,
okay.
Watch out, children. Deaths are coming.
Good to know.
Got it.
Have I swayed you to believe that the mighty Michel de Nostradamus, the poor boy of Saint-Rémy de Provence, could actually see the future? Or not, would be the other side of that argument.
I'm pretty sure I don't believe this stuff. I think it's interesting. There's some fun coincidences. But I think if you write enough predictions, you're going to have 10 that seem kind of cool. And that seems to be what's happened. I don't know. I don't believe this one. Sorry.
Yeah, and I think I was pretty clear about mine.
I mean, right at the top of the show.
I think if you are vague enough and you wait enough time, basically anything you say, there will be something close enough that people can say you predicted it. I mean, I don't believe. I mean, again, it's fun. It's fun to be like, ooh, maybe he said this or like maybe he said that, but to me, it's absolutely, it's baloney pants.
Yeah. Sorry, Matthew.
I will say now, if anybody tells you that they can see the future and they are charging you for that service, they are a charlatan.
Yes.
Do not believe that person. Do not give that person any money.
Yeah.
Because the problem is what they're selling you isn't the future. They're selling you hope. And you can't buy hope. It doesn't matter how you think you're going to do it. That's not something that's a commodity you can attain for money. Giving someone the idea that there's going to be something nice in the future might bring you a short-term peace, but it won't solve your problems. And anyone who tells you that they can do this for you, in the off chance, the 1 in a billion, that this person maybe has some strange divine providence where they can know something about the future for some reason, the chance that the lady at the bottom of the street or the guy at the pub is that person is 0.
Yeah.
Don't define your future by what someone else says will come to pass, is what I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, whether that someone is like actually a person who says that they, have some kind of like psychic abilities, or if that's just anyone in the world telling you what your future is going to look like, trying to put you down in that way, telling you that you can't do the things you want to do, or that your life is always going to be the way it is right now. That's some bullshit.
Yeah.
And I think this is a great way to launch into the new year. Look, time is funny, and your life can change really fast. I look back a year ago at what my life was and what it is now. It is so drastically different. That happened. I had no idea it was going to happen, and it happened quickly. That can be you. Like, don't listen to anyone who tells you that your future can't be the thing you want it to be. It can be. You just gotta work toward that thing. And so that's what I have to say. And also, you know what else you should take with you into 2020? A subscription to Death by Monsters. Go to your favorite podcast purveyor and hit that subscribe button. Leave a rating and a review if you want. Share with a friend. Take some other friends who listen to Death by Monsters with you into the future. Take some merch with you into the future. You got a shirt, you got a hoodie, you got a mug, you got whatever else we might put up on there. Do that, and hey, guess what? We might have some other exciting things we're going to be announcing very soon that you can help Death by Monsters continue into the future.
If you have the capacity to take some Death by Monsters merch with you into the past, at least leave it somewhere hilarious for archaeologists to
Yes,
find.
that'd be funny.
I was going to say do that and then write us an email about it so we can talk about it on a Home Strange episode. Hey, have you
Please.
gone into the past with some Death by Monsters merch?
Tell us about it.
Send it in to deathbymonsterspodcast@gmail.com. Send us your Home Strange stories so that we can talk about them on a future Home Strange episode. They're really fun. We love reading our listener stories about weird stuff
It's
that's
the best.
happened to you. Send that in.
Yeah.
What else, y'all?
Did you find a Death by Monsters hoodie inexplicably in a time capsule? We want to know about it. Happy New Year, everybody, and thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again next time. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.